Most people have a go at repairing holes and cracks in walls using the wrong products and the wrong techniques. And what ends up happening is those repairs sag, crack and fall out and end up just looking a mess. So today I'm going to show you the pro methods that I've been using for years to make these things invisible. And I'll show you the mistakes not to make and what not to use, because most people go out and buy this stuff and it's actually the worst for most jobs. And once I've shown you the right filler to use, I'm even going to show you how to get a good finish. So we'll start with the most common type that we all find in our houses, where old pictures and brackets have been on the wall. Them small holes, normally with a plug still inside them, like this one. So you can see that plug is protruding from the wall very slightly. So we can't fill it because it will still show through the filler. Now the worst thing you can do in this scenario is pull that plug out with a pair of pliers. It'll do two things. It'll potentially make a bigger hole in the wall for you to repair, but it will also create a void and a bigger hole behind where the plug is. The trick is to leave the plug in, especially if it's a plasterboard wall, because that will give you something to form a backer behind the filler, so the filler doesn't just disappear into the hole. But we can't just leave the plug like that. We do need to get this flush. So what I do is I grab a sharp knife and I run that flush around the plug. So you can see I'm cutting that top off there, and the aim is to, of course, get the plug slightly back from the surface of the wall. Now if you haven't got a plug in there and you're working on drywall with a big hole behind it, we're going to cover that later on, so don't worry too much. But what we need to look at now is the right product and tool to use to fill the hole. Now I'm confident that you've all seen this type of filler before, a ready mixed pot or tube that you can grab on the supermarket shelves, general DIY stores, B&Q, everywhere pretty much sells this. Now this is not to slate polycell or polyfiller, there's lots of different types on the market and different brands, but they're just not very good. Now the reason they're not very good is because they tend to shrink and crack, especially shrink. These are of course pre-mixed, made for convenience and speed. Now essentially there's two different types of filler. There's your pre-mixed filler and your powder filler. Now once you've applied them, they actually go off and harden in two very different types of ways. The pre-mixed stuff, like this one, goes off through primarily drying out. So the moisture that's in the tube, you can feel it's full of moisture. The moisture comes out of the product, and that is what causes it to shrink and crack. And that is why these are just not very good. As much as they claim they don't shrink and crack, they just do. Now I'm going to do one hole with the ready mix stuff, just to show you what happens. Now this stuff says it takes 2 hours to set, and then we'll come back and we'll sand it down. I'll use my usual technique for this, which I'll explain to you when I fill the next hole using a powder filler. Now there is one exception to bad premix fillers, and we will cover that shortly because it is actually a pretty good product. The other type of filler out there is powder filler, so stuff that you mix yourself. Now of course it's not as convenient, it takes longer to mix, there's mistakes that you can make with it, it does take a little bit more of a refined approach, but it's a far superior product. This one in particular is called Easy Fill. I've been using this for years. You'll find most builders and tradesmen will use this stuff because it is so versatile, it goes rock hard, and most importantly it doesn't shrink. Now it doesn't shrink because it's the other type of hardening process, setting. Setting works in the same way that, for example, cement does, where there's a chemical reaction that happens that causes this stuff to harden. So we'll leave that one to set over there. This is in the same room, exactly the same conditions, and we're going to now use a powder filler to fix the one where we cut that plug short. Now when you mix up Easy Fill, don't use a huge bucket and mix up big batches, because what you'll find is it'll start to set and go off really quickly and really suddenly, and all you'll end up doing is losing control of that process and costing yourself a bucket. So add some water to a little 1 litre mixing tub first. You'll be surprised, you don't need as much as you think in there. And then I'm just going to use a filler knife just to add some of my powder. Now in bigger batches you would use a mixing paddle to mix this stuff, but in smaller, more controlled batches I'd recommend just use anything. I've got a little bit of metal here. We're just going to mix this into a nice creamy substance. That's still a little bit thin. I'll add a little more. You'll be surprised, it won't take much to thicken that up. And we're just looking for a consistency that holds its body and shape nicely. And if you go the other way and it gets too thick, you can always add a little bit more water, because we're not going to ruin huge batches doing it in a small tub like this. Now, there's lots of different filler knives out there. For small jobs like this, you just want something that's about 1.5 inches or 2 inches wide. And all we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of that filler. I'm going to start to pop that in the hole. Look how it holds its shape. It's already not sagging. It's far easier to use. And what you'll often find, if you do this, you'll see that blister mark at the top there, that little low spot. And what that's doing is, as we're pulling it, even with this filler, didn't do it that time, that proves how good this filler is. There we go, it's done it slightly there. It will pull away from the edge of the hole, just because of the pressure and the weight that we're withdrawing the knife away from the edge there. So the way I like to do it is I approach this from different angles, building it up, and I work from the center of the hole. So if we say that's the center of the hole, I'll work from the center of the hole outward, like this. And what you'll find by doing that is we don't drag any one side of the hole. Now that's slightly proud, but I want it slightly proud. It's much better to have it proud than it is have an indentation in it, because you just have to fill it later. Now, the good thing about powdered fillers is in 20 minutes time, that setting, rather than drying, will have taken place. That will be rock hard, and it'll be super easy to sand without any pulling, and we'll get the perfect finish. Now, the one exception to the new Premixed rule is lightweight filler, such as the One Fill. Now, lots of different brands make this. It is a very lightweight filler. In fact, it's got almost no weight to it at all. It dries quickly, but there is one drawback to it. It's only really any good for small repairs. Now, this stuff doesn't shrink and crack and is really easy to use. You can see there, you almost don't even need to sand the stuff. It is actually really good. But I'd only ever advise that you use this on maybe small scratches, plaster imperfections, and when you are using this stuff, the same techniques that we used earlier still apply. So let's have a look at the results from the types of filler that we used earlier. And taking a look at the Premixed filler first, you can see the very large shrinkage and divot that it's left, which doesn't look very good at all. Now the Easy Fill, on the other hand, still has a high spot where we left it proud, perfect for sanding. And here's the one that'll shock you the most. That is the lightweight filler. Almost no sanding needed at all on that one. So you can see ready mix filler leads you to believe that it's really convenient, but it's not, because now we've just got to fill it again. So now we know the basics of how to fill them small everyday holes around the house. We are going to move on to some much trickier stuff later, so don't go anywhere, stick around for that. But before we get to those, let's have a look at how we fix another really common annoying problem. Hairline cracks in walls. Now these often are reoccurring, and they normally occur for a few different reasons. Sometimes it's shrinkage, when a new build, for example, dries out and settles. The other reason you sometimes get cracks like this is above doors, where plasterboard sheets and things like that mix, and sometimes you may have to undertake a little bit more of a tricky repair behind the surface, but that is a job for another day. Now what we don't want to do is just try and force filler in there. We actually need to make this crack worse before we attempt to fill it, because if we attempt to put a little bit of filler in here, you can guarantee it will crack again. So we need to make this worse, and to do that, we're actually going to make a V-shaped groove along the edge of the crack, right down into the plaster, as deep as we can. And that is pretty brutal, and it's pretty scary if you've never done it before, because it is going to make a big mess, and we're going to do that on both sides of the crack. So it's going to end up as quite a big crack there, but we do need to make this a much larger surface area than that hairline crack. Now this particular crack does go down behind the radiator. When we decorate this room in a few weeks, I'll fix that then, because this radiator will come off to paint. But by doing this, we've got a much better chance of stopping that crack from reappearing. Now using a filler knife, we're going to work some Easy Fill in there. Easy Fill is the best thing for this again, because it goes off rock hard. And all we're going to do, work plenty of that into the crack, push it in there fairly hard. We want to make sure that we've got plenty in there. We'll just work across the crack. Now at the minute that looks quite messy because we've worked that all in there, but I'm going to run the knife along the line of the crack and that's going to smooth that off really nicely. We'll come back, we'll give that a very minimal sand down, and that will look absolutely spot on, and I almost guarantee it won't reappear. Now we're going to move on to some slightly tricky repairs, a few different techniques, but before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss out on the handy videos that I've got to come, and make sure you hit that like button because not only does it tell me that this video is doing its job and helping you, but it helps the video to get out there and help more people. So the tricky stuff. There's a large imperfection in this wall just here. Hopefully you can see it a little bit better now. Now we recently plastered this area, but it was going to be hidden, so we didn't finish this wall very well. As it turns out, we've had to change the plan, and now that's going to be on show, so I need to fix it. But the reason I'm actually showing you this is very important, is because your filler knife size plays a massive part of your finished repair. If we consider that the bit that we need to fill there is probably a third of that blade, we need to bridge across it. So we need this bit of the blade to touch the good part of the wall and this bit of the blade to touch the good part of the wall, and we need to repair across it. So I work easy fill into the low spot, and then I use my filler knife in the direction of the damage so that we're bridging across it and filling that low spot. And then we're not aiming for a finished product, our sandpaper will do that for us later. Now the big one, and the one that catches most people out. Big holes in plasterboard, or if you're in the US, drywall. The reason it's difficult to work with is that there's nothing behind it. It's just a void into a hollow wall. So we can't just apply filler because, well, it just falls in. Now there's a few ways you can approach this. You can make the hole bigger, physically make it into a big square, use some timber behind it and patch it up, but that's a lot more invasive. So I've got a little trick that I sometimes use that'll get us out of this muddle. I'm going to use this stuff, Expand and Foam, as a backer to support my final layer of filler. Now all the products you've seen used in this video, I'm going to link them in the description below so you can grab them for your project. You can kind of just build this stuff up in layers until it gets close to the hole. That's going to expand a bit and it's going to push out of the hole. Now that's gone hard enough, grab a knife and just cut it off. So now we've got a nice solid backing to hold our filler. Slightly bigger filler knife for this one because it's a slightly bigger hole. Probably going to leave this one very slightly proud. Just because of it being such a big hole, there is more opportunity for it to shrink, and you're better to leave it proud and then sand it down later. Now no matter what filler you use, there's one thing that you are almost always going to need to do, and that is finish it, sand it down so that it looks great once you paint it. Now of course the sandpaper method is cheaper, you haven't got to buy a power tool. What you do want to do is grab a small block of wood, and then so that we can get a nice flat finish, I'm just going to wrap a piece of sandpaper around that block of wood. If we just use our hand, we could end up with pits in it. Now I'm going to sand down the easy fill, and you'll see how easy it is to sand because it's easy fill. And don't use sandpaper that's too coarse. 180 grit sandpaper is absolutely perfect. And remember, don't sand too early. Make sure the filler's completely dry. And that is why easy fill's my favorite. Not only is it easy to use, it's really hard, goes off really quick, doesn't shrink, it sands absolutely perfectly flat as well. Now of course an orbital sander, one like this Makita, is quite an expensive way to sand things down, but if you're doing lots of it, it's really worth it because you can get a really good flat finish. But the key benefit is you've got extraction. I can hook my extractor up to this, and through those little holes on there, what that's going to do is that's going to suck the dust out so we don't get loads of dust everywhere. So I'm going to sand down that lightweight filler with this, and you'll see the finish you can get on that one as well. So to show you how good an orbital sander is, I'm sanding down that lightweight filler that you can see there at the bottom, and there's a patch of easy fill above it. And it's a much better method if you want to sand down bigger bits of damage like that crack that we repaired earlier, which is now completely gone. So now you know, don't sand too soon and don't paint too soon, and you know the right products and techniques to use to get the perfect finish. So drop in the comments what are you trying to repair at home, because we might all be able to share our own experiences and help each other. And click on this video to see some more handy repairs. And I'll see you in the next one.